So, good morning, all. So, this is our 105th session from Prathidhwani Technical Forum. So, we have crossed the 100 milestone a few months back. So, it's a great achievement. So, after the success of this tech forum, we were able to initiate a job portal, job fair, all those kind of things for the IT employees. So, we are proud that we are able to contribute something to the society. So a few things about Prathidhwani, like maybe majority of you know what Prathidhwani is and what Prathidhwani stands for, but still, if there is somebody who is uh, new to it, so we are a welfare organization for IT employees across Kerala, and we have presence in Technopark, Infopark Kochi, Cyberpark Calicut. So we have we formed with a three-dimensional like vision, considering cultural, social, and technical aspects. So the technical forum fall into the technical aspects, and we offer like we stand for the welfare, and we create platform for the IT employees in every aspects. Like whichever interest you have, we have a platform for that or a forum for that. So we have this technical forum is one of it. We have women's forum, we have literature forum, film club, sports club, travel club, KSRTC forum, train forum, all those kind of things we have. So if you are not part of any of it which you have interest in, please feel to reach out. We will add you there, or we will make sure that your contribution is adding to your organization. So uh, like we are in a situation like we are planning back to office. So we have a uh, plan called Prathidhwani Marketplace, where we have a Telegram group and a Facebook group where we where we help people in relocating or settling down at our location. Like we are focusing on Technopark and Infopark plus Cyberpark for now. So like whatever requirement you have, rental, all those kind of things, you can post your requirement or get the information on your requirement, and you can utilize it. So you can reach out to us for more information. So like and we have 115 groups in this tech forum. So when you have some job opening in your company, or about, you can forward to us. We have a job portal as well. So when you have this, uh, you can share us, and we will make sure that it is circulated among this 115 groups, and we will be posting it in our job repo. In that way you will get more visibility to that requirement. So that's all about the Prathidhwani and its process and all. So we are entering to the 105th session on latest trends on sorry um, testing, and some details on the API testing. So Sreeraj, uh, who is a senior test lead at HNR Block, will be handling this session. So I'm not wasting more time. So over to you, Sreeraj.
Thanks much, Rajat and Prathidhwani, for inviting me for this session. Thank you all for joining. Let me share my screen. Okay, let me know if it is not visible to you. Okay,
We can see it.
Yeah. Today we are going to discuss about the latest trends in software testing and introduction to API testing. So my plan is like we will talk about API testing first, then we'll go to the software testing. Okay, the agenda of today's meeting would be we will talk about what is an API, how an API works, and the response code which we are getting from an API, and how we can structure it, and the authorization and authentication, the difference between these two, and how it is making, API is utilizing it, and microservices, what is the difference between microservice, web service, and an API. And at last, I will talk about the top 5 trends in software testing as well. So before starting the session, I just want to give a heads up, like it's a beginner level session. So if you are an expert, or if you have already used API in your current project or somewhere, then there are high chances like you might have already heard the things which I am going to explain. Okay, let's get started. Introduction to API. So after the, as the pandemic hit us, after that, most of the companies, be it small or large, they are going through a digital transformation, right? And API is playing a key role in that digital transformation as well. And experts say API is going to stay in this digital wheel. It's been there for quite some time, and it's going to be there in future as well. That's what experts says. And we will talk about why it is API is so much important, and how much revenue it could generate in the software field, and why it is a key factor in the digital transformation. Okay, and again, I am taking a tester perspective here, so not a developer perspective, because otherwise I need to explain some maturity models and all those stuffs. So I will take a tester perspective and will talk more about APIs. Okay. So by definition, API is like application programming interface. Some people say it as application program interface as well. Both are same. So how an API works, or what is the job that API doing in a software industry? That would be the first question that will come into your mind when you hear about API, right? So we will take a real-time classic example of a restaurant scenario. Say, for example, you are going to a restaurant, and if you are ordering it, you won't be going to the kitchen, and you won't be asking for your order or your dish to the chef directly, right? You will be asking it to a waiter. And waiter will in turn go to the kitchen and pass on that information to your chef, and chef will make the dish and give it to the waiter, and waiter will deliver it on your table. That's how it works. So API is playing the role of a waiter here. So it's kind of a middleman. So what it does is like, you have an application, and if you are having 2 application, or you are having one application on your server, API will be playing the role of a middleman, get the request from the application and pass on this information to the server, and in turn, get the details and deliver it to the application. That's what API does. So you might be having the question like, why the application can directly go in, request for the request to server for that information, right? So consider, take the real-time scenario as well. If you are going inside the kitchen directly, what will happen? Say, for example, the chef only knows Italian or Spanish, and you don't know those languages. How do you communicate? There is an issue there, right? And if every customer gets into the kitchen, then there are security issues and there are hygiene issues likewise. So in order to overcome these things, and in order to serve a better product, you are having a waiter there. Likewise, we are having an API. If you are requesting for something, and if you are having this access for that, then you will be getting the data that you are requested for. Otherwise, you will be denied. Okay. So API interprets the provider applications component in its native format. So say, for example, your application in C# and the other application is, give me a minute. Sorry for that. Okay, so API interprets the provider applications component in its native format. So whatever language your application is dealing with, that doesn't matter. API can handle all those things. So it basically like an interface. It creates an ecosystem to interact between apps, two or more apps, like an interface. Okay, so now you know what an API is doing. It will play the role of a middleman. Now the next question would be how an API works. Okay, for knowing that, we should be knowing about the architecture style we are having. So there are two architecture style we are having in API. One is REST and another one is SOAP. Okay, so SOAP architecture, I'm planning to talk more about REST here because it's the one predominantly using nowadays. SOAP we will cover up in some other session. Okay, SOAP stands for Simple Object Access Protocol. These two are different architecture style for creating APIs. And REST stands for Representational State Transfer. So when we talk about REST, we cannot go forward without mentioning Roy Fielding. Who is Roy Fielding? In the year of 2000, Roy Fielding put forward this architecture style in one of his research papers, and REST architecture is there from there onwards, from year 2000 onwards. Okay, now you know what is the architecture style that we are having. It's REST and how it works, right? In order to know that, let's expand the definition, representational state transfer. There is a word, state. What is a state? So I will give the definition. State of a web application is represented by current set of resources. State of a web application is represented by current set of resources. Now there is one more time, resource. What is a resource? Resource is an entity with which the application is dealing with. You might be wondering, is this guy taking you through all the definitions and all those steps, right? But there is a reason behind that. So I will repeat it again. State of a web application is represented by current set of resources. And what is a resource? It's an entity with which the application is dealing with. So in order to understand it better, let's take a website. Let's take Amazon, okay? And I'm searching for backpack here. I got the list of all the backpacks available. So let me write it down. There is a resource, which is product. I search for backpack, which is a product, and that is one resource. And we got the list of resources. Let's say it's in state A, okay? Now, I'm selecting one backpack and adding it to the cart. Now, one more resource is there, that is cart, right? And the state changed from A to B. So earlier, all the products got listed, and in state B, we selected one product and added it to the cart. So the product quantity has been increased to 1. Okay. Now, I'm clicking on proceed to buy. If you are not signed in, you will ask to sign in either using mobile number or email, or if you are a signed in user, you will be asked to enter your delivery address. Correct? So one more resource there, that is customer, and the state again changed to C. So if you look at here, there are 3 resources: product, cart, and customer. And also there are 3 states, A, B, and C. So again, going back to the definition, state of a web application is represented by current set of resources. In state A, what we are doing, we are retrieving all the products information. I mean, back here. Okay. In state B, we are selecting one and adding it to the cart. That means we are transforming it. And state C as well, we are either selecting a customer or signing in. That means, again, we are getting or retrieving or transforming it, right? So that's what here also we are doing. We are in representational state transfer, we are retrieving or transforming the resources in this, in Rust. So how we can retrieve or transform a resource? You know what is a resource as well by now, right? It's an entity with which the application is dealing with. It could be anything. If you are, if there is payment, that is another resource. So basically, you are retrieving and transforming a resource. Now, how you can retrieve and transform the resource? You know, we are using Rust. Using Rust, how we can do that? For that, we are using a protocol called HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Yeah, you heard it right. It's the protocol of internet. In order to, in internet, we are using it, right? And the same protocol, we are using it for Rust as well. So yeah, there is a protocol, HTTP, and how we can make use of it. And why we are using HTTP? We have another protocols like FTP, file transfer protocol. Why we are using HTTP? So HTTP is something like no installation required. It's like a ready to onboard bus. It's there. You don't need to install anything. You can make use of all the functionalities available there without any installation. Say, for example, if you're using ESB, enterprise service base or something kind of that sort, in that case, you may need to install it. You should need to install it in your premises. Then only you should be able to access it, right? But in the case of HTTP, there is nothing like that. Okay. So it's like an omnipresent bus, which makes integration of web services easy. Their term comes, which is a web services. I will explain it in the coming slides. Okay, don't worry about that. So HTTP is the protocol using in Rust. It's the hypertext protocol, transfer protocol of internet, and why we need to use it. That is the next question, right? Okay. So how we can make use of HTTP, or why we can why we need to use it? In the previous slide, we learned where we are retrieving and transforming the resources in Rust. So in order to do that, in order to do those actions, we have HTTP methods available. Those are, when you say retrieve, that's reading. Transforming, it could be write, modify, delete, likewise, right? So in order to do all these actions, we have HTTP methods available. Get is for getting it. If you have in your company, there are 100 employees and you need to get all the employees' details. You can use the HTTP method get, and post it for writing a new record or creating a new record. Say, for example, a new employee joins in your organization, and in that case, you need to enter the employee records in the database or the application, right? How we can do that? We can make use of the HTTP method, right? Then modifying it. If the employee gets promotion, then we need to change the designation. How we can do that? Either you can use put or patch. Both are kind of doing the similar action. And then comes delete. It is for, as the name suggests, it is for deleting a resource. Okay, so the HTTP actions are not limited to this. For this training purpose, I took only these 5 for now. That's it. Okay, these are the most commonly used HTTP methods. That's why I took all these things. So we have HTTP methods available: get, post, put, patch, and delete. Okay, now we have HTTP methods. These are the HTTP methods available. So using HTTP method, a resource will be in somewhere else, right? How can we access these resources? There comes URL. URL is unique resource locator. So when we talk about a URL, we need to talk about two more things: URI and URN. So I will explain what all of this. URI is unique resource indicator and URN is unique resource number. So URI is the superset and URL and URN is the subset. I will give a real-time example here as well. Say for example, your name, that could be a URI, and how to access you, right? In order to get that information, you need to provide your address as well. So that could be URL. That if it is only a name, then it could be a URI or a URN. But how to access it, if that information is also available, then it's a URL. URL is the subset of URI, which is unique resource indicator. Okay, an example of URL, it would be something like this, which is showing in the screen. First, we will be having the protocol. Here we are using HTTP protocol. If it is an FTP, then we will be having FTP. Then we will be having the domain name, then the products, the resource name. So in a domain, we would be having n number of resources. So in a family, if you are having 5 members, how do you, in order to identify you need to be having a specify the name. The same here, we have the resource name. And then comes the query string, which is not a mandatory one. In the URL, it's based on scenarios. Okay, this is how a URL looks like: protocol, domain, resource, and query string. Okay, so methods can be executed on resources via URL. In order to transform or in order to retrieve resources, we can access those resources via URL, and we can execute these HTTP methods via URL on resources. How we can do that? Sometimes, in order to just get, getting a resource, you just need to enter the URL. That's it. But some cases, you need to pass some information along with the request, right? Say for example, if you are creating a new employee record, then without specific details like what is the employee name, which department he belongs to, or what is his designation, without these details, we may not be able to enter or create a new record, right? So those kind of information is called a payload, request payload. So we have a request, the action that we are performing on a resource, that is a request, and the details we are passing along with the request, that is a payload. Again, the payload is not a mandatory one. It's based on APIs. Okay, and then comes response. If you are calling an API with a request, requesting an API to do some action on a resource, then you will be getting a response back. Two things you would be getting. Either, one is a response code and another one is a response message. We'll come to that. So we talked about 3 times: request, response, and payload, right? So in the payload, we can pass this information through different formats: JSON, XML, BSON, text. All those are the different formats, right? So we'll talk about JSON and XML here. JSON is JavaScript object notation, and XML is extensible markup language. So both are language neutral and it's easy to understand as well. I will give you an example of these things. So the employee details, if you need to create 3 employee with first name and last name, this is how the employee, JSON looks like. But when it comes to XML, this is a bit lengthy. So JSON is more lightweight, and we don't really need to give the open and close tags like we are doing it in XML. Here, if you need to add a new field, then you need to have open tag, close tag, all those steps, right? But here we don't, in JSON, we don't really need to do those. Okay, and we have BSON, which is binary encoded JSON, and text as well. So payload is a set of information, and we can pass payload using a JSON, XML, like other formats also available. I hope you are with me till this point. Okay, moving forward. JSON and XML we are using in a request. If there is a payload, if we need to attach a payload with it. Sometimes we need to give some headers also along with the request. When I say headers, it could be what is the format that we are using in the payload. If it's a JSON or XML, all those kind of stuffs or details we need to pass it along with the request. Those informations are called headers, but those are not mandatory thing. It's based on APIs again. Okay. So customer-centric context when added to RESTful web service, it's called RESTful API. So web service, what is a web service? Or what is the difference between a web service and an API? When it comes to a web service, it's mainly used to interact with between 2 machines. But when it comes to an API, it's basically between 2 applications, 2 or more applications. So web service always requires a network. So if you are integrating 2 machines, then there is a network always needed, right? But in case of API, a network is not needed always. So you might be wondering why we are not needing a network, because in order to hit this resource, we need a network always, right? HTTPS, hrblog.com/products. Now to hit that without a network or without internet, how we can do that? So the APIs here, the most of the APIs here we are talking here is web APIs. So there are another set of APIs. Say for example, in your machine there are 2 applications, and you are integrating those 2 applications with an API. Then in that case, you don't really need a network. APIs will work without a network as well. There are APIs likewise. Okay. So web service always need a network, but API doesn't need it always. And all web services are APIs, but not all the APIs are web service. It's something like all the taggers are cats, but not all the cats are taggers. If you consider a web service, you can consider it as an API as well, but not the other way around. All APIs are not web services. And web service mostly use SOAP architecture, but there are debate going on like, there are web services which is using REST architecture style as well. Okay. So when there is a customer-centric context added to a RESTful web service, it is called a RESTful API. Okay. So we have a resource, and resource should be having its own unique URL, and we can execute HTTP methods on resources via URL. And by doing that action, we should be able to retrieve or transform the resources which we are doing in a REST architecture. I hope you are with me. Okay. Now we know how we can access a resource or access an API, right? And what is the response code that we are getting? As I said earlier, we would be getting two things: a response code and a response structure, right? A response code, there are different kind of response code we would be getting, starting from 100 to 500 range. Okay, if it is something like 500 to 199, then that means it is a informational level message. If you are getting a response code saying 102, then that means it is the server got the request and it is processing it in process. That's what it says. So whatever response code that you are getting 100 to 199, that means it's in process. I mean, it's an information message. Okay, there are some standard messages usually we use, and some of them are reserved for future purpose as well. And if you are getting a response code which is between 200 to 299, then it's a success. 200 means okay, 200 okay, success. If it is 201, then it means created. If you are creating a new employee in using an API, then probably you will be getting a response code as 201 created. It's again how your API is designed, okay? And 300 range, it is for redirection. That means client must do some other action in order to complete that particular request. Client means if you are hitting that API, you are the client. And the 400 range, that is for client error. If you are sending out a payload and if there is some changes in the payload or the payload is not correct, then you would be getting 400 bad requests. And if you are passing a credential which is not valid, then you would be getting 401 unauthorized. And if you are passing a correct credentials, still we are getting you are not having enough privileges to perform that particular action, then you would be getting 403 forbidden response code. Okay, and if say for example, if you are searching for an employee and that employee details are not available in your server, then you would be getting 404 not found. So you might be having a doubt, like I explained about 400 to 404, but not 402. Why? It is reserved for the future. I mean, it's a non-standard response code. We are not using it heavily now, but it is reserved for the future. Some APIs are using it for payment purpose and all those. Okay, and 500 range is for the server error. 500 internal server error means the server is down. The the server which your API is trying to contact or trying to connect is having some issues. Okay, so these are the different response code that we usually get from APIs. 100 range informational, 200 range success, 300 range redirection, 400 range client error, and 500 range server error. Okay. Response code, along with the response code, we would be getting response messages as well. So in your company, you are having 1 lakh employees, say for example, and if you simply do a get operation, you would be getting all those information, right? So it's very, it won't be very easy to get the correct information or the information that you wanted from that. So that's where we can structure our responses using different techniques. The main techniques that we are using are filtering, sorting, and pagination. So let's take an example. Say for example, this is the a database table where we are having the table name is employees, and we are having employee name, employee number, name, department, and active status flag. Okay, employee number is the primary key, which is unique, and other things are not unique. And you need to get some specific details from this table. How we can do that? I hope you remember the query string parameter we saw while explaining the URL format. So we can make use of that query string parameter here. Okay, how we can do that? So first, filtering. Let me. So we have a resource URL like this. Okay, employees. So in order to filter this, what I'm trying to do is like we are having employees with department IT and active status flag is yes. I'm trying to fetch the employees within this range, where the department is IT and the active status flag is yes. So if that is the case, what I could do is like I can put a question mark and department equal to IT and active equal to yes. It will fetch you all the employee details with who belongs to the department IT and who is active as well. This technique is called filtering of the response. Okay. Now sorting. How we can sort it. It's a keyword query parameter we can use sort underscore by. Here we can sort it using employee number. Okay. By default, sorting will be done as in descending order. If you are just hitting this URL, it will be sort by employee number and in a descending order. But if you need it in an ascending order, then you can add one more parameter, order by equal to AC. It will fetch the records, employee records, sorted by employee number and ordered by ascending. Okay, so we talked about filtering and sorting. Next comes pagination. So as I said earlier, if you're getting huge records, we need to structure it, right? So how can we do that? If I just need only 10 records, then I can do limit equal to 10. It will fetch the first 10 records. So again, limit equal to 10, these keywords, these are again based on your APIs, how your APIs are designed. But these are the standard keywords we are using in an API. Okay. It will fetch only the first 10 records. We have one more query parameter that is offset. If I am giving limit equal to 10 and offset equal to 3, what it will do is from the third record, it will take the next 10 records, 3rd to 13. So that is the usage of limit and offset. We talked about filtering, sorting, and pagination. Okay, so now we know how or what is an API, what is the architecture style it is following, different HTTP methods, and what is a request, a response, and a payload, what is the different responses we are getting, and how we can structure the responses. Okay. So security. If you are allowing everyone to access the kitchen, likewise, in our real-time scenario, then it causes problems. Likewise, in API also, we need to have some certain permission set, security permission. So in order to explain that, we need to understand two terms, authentication and authorization. What is the difference between these two, authentication and authorization? Authentication is something like who you are, identifying, the identity. And the authorization is the access rights. Okay. So say, for example, if you are working in Technopark, in order to get inside the Technopark campus, you just need to show the ID card to the security or the person. You would be allowed to enter the campus. So you are authenticated to enter inside the campus. But in order to get inside your company premises, what you need to do? You need a special level of access, right? If you are working in company A, then you are not allowed to enter in company B. And in order to enter in the company's floor, you need a special privilege that is called authorization. Okay, so that's the difference between authentication and authorization. So we have different security or authentication mechanism available in API. So for this training purpose, I took only 3. Again, this is not limited to these 3. I'm just explaining these 3 in this training session. Okay, first one is basic authentication. In basic authentication, what we would be doing is like we would be passing our username and credentials. And while sending this username and credentials, these things are base 64 encoded. What is base 64 encoded? Or encoding and encryption? New terms comes. Encoding and encryption. Encoding is something like you will, the information that you are passing on will be converted using an algorithm, using a universal key. And everyone or anyone having that universal key should be able to decode it. And if you are a hacker and you should be able to access that universal key, and you should be able to decode the username and password that you are passing, or someone else is passing along with the request. That is not safe, or that is not secure. So basic authentication is less secure. What is encryption? Encryption is something like the information that you are passing will be converted into ciphertext using an algorithm, and again using a private key. In order to decrypt it, you need a private key again. Without a private key, you should not, you won't be able to decrypt it. Okay, so even if the hacker tries to attack or tries to access the data, even if he gets it, without this private key, hacker won't be able to decrypt it, and it is something like a garbage, no use of it. So that's the difference between encoding and encryption. Okay, so in OAuth, we have 2 versions of OAuth, OAuth 1.0 and OAuth 2.0. OAuth 2.0 is the latest one. Here we are using encryption. All the details that we are passing on in the OAuth 2.0 will be RSA encrypted. So what we are doing in OAuth is like we will be identifying our identity, and the server will do a check whether the server is able to identify. If the server is able to identify us, then server send back an access code with the certain access levels, and will send back that. And with that access code, we need to again send a request to get the required data. If we have enough privileges, then we would be getting that data back. This is how an OAuth works. Next comes API key. It's kind of an static key where we would be able to pass it along with the request, and based on the access, again we would be getting the request. That's API key. So basic authentication, OAuth, API key, encoding, and encryption. And you might have heard about bearer token. So that's kind of an OAuth 2.0 authentication mechanism. Okay. So now we talked about the security aspects as well. Next one, microservices. What is a microservice? So Netflix, let me tell you a story. In 2008, there was a major crash in Netflix architecture. Because of that, they had to take down their entire application. Okay, in 2008. So what happened is like they were following a monolithic architecture, and after this crash, they analyzed what went wrong and what is the root cause of this. And they found out that there is a semicolon missing. And because of that, the DB got corrupted and it took down their entire system. They didn't want to take, this kind of situations again, right? So architectures in Netflix implemented microservices architecture, and from their own weights, like more companies started adopting it, like LinkedIn, Nike, Google, Amazon, Uber. All these companies are using microservices architecture. It's not like the monolithic architecture. So microservice is something like it's a suite of small services, each taking care of business functionalities and independently deployable. Okay, it will be having different services we should be having. Each taking care of one business functionality, and we should be. It is atomic, and it is independent. We should be able to easily collaborate each other, and it is scalable also. If you need to scale it up, then we should be able to do that. Okay, so that's what a microservice. So it's a suite of small services, each taking care of business functionality and independently deployable. So how APIs or where APIs really comes in these microservices? APIs are the interfaces, while microservice is how the app is implemented inside. That's what microservice is. So in order to implement a microservice architecture, we need API. If you're not speaking, can you go on mute, please? Okay, so APIs are the interfaces, while microservice is how the app is implemented inside. Okay, so we should be able to, there would be multiple microservices. Basil Varghese, can you go on mute, please? Okay. So APIs are like interfaces in order to interact or connect between applications. So it's like an interface, while microservices, how the application is implemented inside. Okay, I hope you are with me till this point. So let me summarize it. We talked about what is an API, how API works, what are the different architecture style we are following. In that also REST, we talked about REST, how REST is working, the HTTP methods, different HTTP methods, request, response, payload, different response code, and response, how we can structure the responses. And again, microservices. What is a microservice? What is a web service? What is an API? What is the difference between these things, right? We talked about all these steps. Now let me take you to some hands-on. So in an API, or say for example Google, okay, so if you in the Google Chrome, if you click F12, you should be able to get the console window, and there we have network tab available. In network tab, you just click on a fetch or XHR. And here I am searching for a keyword. Let's search for API. And I got the result. Okay, let's analyze this particular console window. Here, if you see, there are API requests being sent. This is the request URL, google.co.in. This is the protocol. This is the domain name, resource, and the query parameter. All those stuffs are there. Okay, and the status we got is 200. Sorry for that. And the request method we got is, we are using is HTTP method is get. And the payload, what is the payload we used? This is the payload we used, and the response, this is the response we got. Okay. Likewise, we have different APIs being sent while searching for a keyword in Google. You can do it on your own and search how many APIs are being sent and what is the response code and what is the request method. Here we are using post, right? In the earlier case, it was get. So different HTTP methods, status code, response, request, and request headers, all those things you would be able to analyze it by just seeing the Chrome console window. You can click on F12 and it will be stored. Okay, next one. Give me a minute, sorry for that. I'm really sorry about that. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. Now we have, if you really want to do some hands-on sessions or hands-on things in API, we have a website called request.in. It is available, and we have a number of different APIs listed here. There is no authentication required for that. You can just simply use it. So I will let you know how we can use the Postman as well. I hope you might be familiar with the Postman. Otherwise, these are the HTTP methods that we talked about. Get, post, put, patch, delete, copy, head, or different options are available. And these 5 things we discussed. And here is where we need to send our request URL. So in this case, let me take post.
What is a Postman?
Okay, Postman is a tool where we usually use to hit an API request. There are different tools available, and Postman is the widely used one. You can download it for free, and you can make use of it. Or there are Chrome add-in as well available. You can just add and use it. It's a free and enterprise versions are there. You can download it and make use of it. Okay. So I'm taking a post request here, API/users. Okay, so this is a create request, and the HTTP method is post. Click on post. We have parameters here. If you need to send any parameters, you can pass it here. And if you want to your API is using some authentication or authorization mechanism, you can use here. We have no auth, that means we are not using any auth. API key, bearer token, basic auth, different authentication mechanism are there. So if you are searching or selecting basic auth, it will give you option to enter username and password. If it is API key and value.
Sreeraj, you're on mute if you're talking.
Really sorry. I'm in office and give me a minute.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, sorry for that. So we have a different authorization mechanism here. API key, we just need to give the APN key, and headers, we can give the headers as well. And body, here is where we need to send the payload. So if you need to pass the text or JSON, you can click on raw and select JSON. If it is a HTML or XML, you can select from here, text here, JavaScript here, whatever you want to give. So in this case, what I'm doing is like I'm selecting it from here. This is the request that I can use. And clicking on send. Okay, so this means I'm from a different network and it is not allowing me to post it. Okay, so if you hit this, then you will be getting a response back with the response code 200, okay, or 2 not on created. So likewise, you should be able to search all those things, get single user, a post, put, patch, delete, all these different options are available. You can try it out in the Postman. And there are pre-request script and test. These are two things which is we are using for Postman automation. You can automate Postman APIs or using JavaScript, you should be able to automate Postman test as well. Okay, and there are a lot many things that we can explain in Postman, something like environment variable, collections, how we can run the test sequentially, or how we can run from a Excel or data source, all those things. I mean, the capabilities of Postman is numerous. So I would suggest you can first get familiar with the Postman, how we can hit a Postman API through Postman, and be familiar with that.
Hello.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you there. Can you tell me how to, give an environment? So, for example, I need to run these particular collections for QA environment or like test. Production environment. We can set environment, right?
Yes, you can.
How we can?
So we first need to set an environment and environment variable. There are something like environment variables. So inside a variable environment, we should be having a set of environment variable. And whenever you are selecting an environment here, then the variable also get reassigned. And you can change it dynamically as well. So say for example, if you are hitting an API, and after that you need to change a variable, then that should be also possible through Postman.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. That's pretty much it from my side on the API part. So I will take questions after the next session also. It won't take more than 10 or 15 minutes for sure. Rajit, I hope that that is okay.
Yeah, yes, Sreeraj.
Okay. So let us transcend software testing. So if you ask every other person, they will give a different list. Okay, different. I mean, it is very difficult to pick up 5 trends because it is the demands are quite fluctuating. So it's again my perspective, and based on my experience, it doesn't mean that the trends or the testing types which is not mentioned here are not important. It's not like that. Those are also important, but based on my perspective, the top 5 trends in 2020 would be these 5. So we will explain each one by detail. The first one is test automation. When I say test automation, it's not something like only more desktop automation. It should be mobile automation or codeless automation. All those things are there. As people are moving to shift left approach, peer companies are investing more on test automation. Next one is API testing. So you should be familiar with, or you should be knowing by now why we need an API testing as of now. As everyone moving to microservices architecture and digital transformation, the scope of APIs are also getting increased, likewise the API testing. Next one is it's something like DevOps plus QA. So faster to market is the key, and nowadays companies are demanding, or there are more requirement for people who knows QA and DevOps tools. Next one is robotic process automation. It's something like how to automate a process using the capabilities of AI and ML. So that is also there. We are having different tools available for that. And the last one is security testing. So as the people who are using digital devices or digital or applications increases, there are high chances of threats as well. Hackers are trying to access it and steal the data, and the scope of security testing also getting increased day by day. There are other kind of testing like performance testing, AI or ML testing, big data testing, IoT testing, audio video testing, likewise. So as I said, I mean, those are also important, but I feel like it may take some more time to gain the momentum. But definitely IoT, big data, all those things will come, I mean, will be on more demand in the next coming years. Okay. Test automation. So the demand for delivering quality software faster requires organization to search for solution in agile and DevOps methodologies. So in earlier days, it was all waterfall days, like you have testing timeline, you have development timeline, all likewise. But nowadays, it's all happening at one go. So the demand for delivering quality software will be, I mean, quality software in a faster pace. In order to do that, the organization requires better solution in agile and DevOps, and test automation is and it's an essential part of it. Okay, we have different tools available for doing test automation, open source and paid tools available, like Catalan. I have just listed few of them. Catalan Studio, Selenium being one of the open source test automation tool, I mean, it is the top player from many years, and it is continuing in this year as well. We have UFT1, APM being one of the top player in mobile automation that is also used as, an open source tool. Nowadays, we are seeing test automation using JavaScript like Cypress or WebDriver.io. All those things are getting momentum. These are again open source tools built on JavaScript. Okay. So these are the test automation tool, and I'm sure that codeless test automation using image recognition, all those kind of steps are also will be there in the will gain momentum in this year. Okay, why companies are concentrating more on test automation? We know faster to market is the one key. It will reduce human intervention. It will increase test coverage, faster to market, and cost savings. These are the main reasons. But there are a number of other reasons are there, but I just listed out these four. So in order to have a quality software faster to market, we need to have test automation in place for sure. That's why people are moving to test automation, investing heavily on test automation, and the demand is also increasing. Next one is API testing. So you must be familiar by now why we need API testing, right? And the tools we are using in API testing are the main tools: Postman, Catalan Studio, Sagar. In Postman and Sagar, we are having free version and enterprise version available. So Catalan Studio is a paid tool. So using Postman, we should be able to do the API testing or web services, and we can integrate it to the CI/CD pipeline as well. We can create multiple tests, automation test, data-driven test, all those things we should be able to do using Postman. Catalan Studio, it is used for Rust and SOAP API testing. Again, data-driven approach and CI/CD integration is also possible there. As it's a paid tool, we have more inbuilt features available there. And Sagar, it supports the entire life cycle of API, from documenting the API, performance, security testing, all those kind of steps we should be able to do Sagar. In Sagar. So Postman is the widely used one. So I would suggest it would be better for if you don't have experience in Postman, it is always better to use Sagar. We have different APIs available, free APIs available. You can just make use of it and hit it and see how it is working. And if possible, you can try out the automation also using Postman. You need to be familiarized with the basics of JavaScript in order to do that. Okay, next one, QA ops. Say, for example, you have test automation in place. If you want to, if you need to run the test automation manually every time, and if it is taking more time, say, for example, days in order to get the result, then there is no use of having test automation. That is where the QA ops coming into picture. Okay, so QA ops is something like the test automation scripts that you are having, how we can integrate with the CDCI, continuous development and continuous integration pipeline, so that whenever there is a deployment happen from the dev side, or there is a code check-in happen from the dev side, our test automation script will automatically get invoked and share the result to the stakeholders. Okay. So also, say, for example, you are having 100 test automation test, and it is taking 10 hours to run all these tests. How we can minimize it? We don't want to run it in a sequential way. We need to run it in a parallel way, and also in different machines or different containers using Docker or Kubernetes kind of tools. So we need to package it, and we need to run it in on containers. So for that, we need testers also need to learn some DevOps techniques and tools as well. So that's where companies are nowadays looking for people who is having expertise on QA plus DevOps. It will support their faster to market with a quality product strategy. Next one is a robotic process automation. So it's like I will give you a scenario like whenever there is a new journey comes in, right? The HR will collect all the information like PAN card certificates and will sort it out and upload it in the application or some location. It's a manual process, and if we are having more than 1,000 employees joining at a time or 200 employees joining time at a time, that process would be tedious for the person, right? So that where comes the process automation. Companies, I mean, if there is a process that we can automate it repetitively, a human being is doing, then we can automate it using that, using any tools like UiPath Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism are the major players in this area. These are all our paid tools. This is kind of codeless automation. We don't really need to understand the coding. We have inbuilt functionalities or inbuilt diagrams available there. We just need to make use of it. So does not require anyone to write the code. System generates a list of activities by watching a customer performing tasks on a GUI, graphical user interface, and repeat these steps automatically. So that's what process automation comes into picture. So analyst says it is going to, I mean, companies are investing heavily on robotic process automation also in this year. Okay, so if you are not really want to go to the coding level, then it would be better to try out your hands in RPA, robotic process automation as well. And the next one or the last one is security testing. Security testing. So Gartner, a analyst firm, they are saying in 2022, 133.7 billion USD is going to be invested in the security testing area alone. Okay, because of the, I mean, there are different attacks happening, ransomware attacks, island hopping. Those are some of them. Ransomware is something like hackers will attack your companies or your data and will ask for ransom in order to release it. And island hopping, when it comes to island hopping, using the third-party integrations, if you are having an integration with another third party, they will exploit that and they will try to access the target company's data. That's what called island hacking. There are two types of hackers, black hat hackers and white hat hackers. White hat hackers are someone like trying to find out the issues in their system and trying to fix it for the companies. Those people are called white hat hackers. But when it comes to black hat hackers, what they are doing is like they will do this activity or exploiting this activity for money, revenge, or for some illegal things. Those people are called black hat hackers. So if a data breach comes, then it's going to be a bad name on the company, right? And the company doesn't want to do that. So that's where we are having security, the importance of security testing. Yeah, that comes to the end of the session, and the floor is open for questions.
Hi, Sreeraj. So, testing perspective, how we can differentiate SOAP and REST API?
So these two things are two different architecture style, and we would be having different APIs as well. So if you are testing in a bank website, SOAP is more secure than REST. So if you are dealing with financial transactions or those kind of things, the APIs that you are dealing with might be in SOAP. For that, you would be having SOAP UI, different set of tools in order to test that things. And the payloads or the responses, all these things going to be bit complex compared to REST. Both of these things are APIs, but when it
So
comes to
while,
scope, yeah.
so while testing, while checking request, response, everything is same, right?
Yeah, these things are common. Request response, all these things are common. I mean, it's based on how the API is designed, basically.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I hope you were able to get some understanding about the APIs through this session.
Yes, Sreeraj, of course, of course.
If anybody
Sreeraj, I
else
have a
have,
question.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So can you tell me the difference between REST client and Postman?
So Postman is a tool, and REST is an architecture, which I mean, for creating API. So that's what you asked, right?
Yes. So this REST can be done using Postman. That's it. Right?
We can test REST, or we can test APIs, REST APIs through Postman.
Through Postman.
So
Okay. Yeah,
REST
that's
is
it.
how
Thank
the
you.
API is built.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
If we don't have any more questions, we can slowly wind up. I have pasted a URL in the chat for giving you feedback on the session. If you can spend 2 minutes, maybe 30 seconds will be enough. If you can provide the feedback, that would be great. If anybody else have any other questions, you can ask.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. So can you explain more about this robotic process automation? Like how is it done?
So we have tools available to do the robotic process automation. It's like we would be having flow charts available or the different blogs available. If you need to do some image comparison or OS comparison or something kind of that sort, it supports more like AI and ML based technologies. So the things which human cannot do or the regular test automation tools cannot do would be able to possible through the RPA tools. And they are concentrating more on the process side. When I say process side, if there are two, some activities that a human being is doing, that's what I explained about the HR scenario. That's one scenario. In order to do that, we need some AI kind of thing, or we need we need to make sure that it should be accurate as well, right? So if a human is doing it repetitively, there are high chances like he may feel bored, and sometimes he may not look into the details. So here we don't have any problem with that. You just need to understand what are the things the RPA or the tool is offering, and how we can do that. Based on that, you can create your test in RPA tool. You need to be familiar with that tool. That's what UiPath, Automation Anywhere, or Blue Prism are the major players. The license cost is a bit high. Still, you would be having trial periods available or free versions available. You can make use of that and you can try to automate, or you can be familiar with what are the different offerings that they are providing.
Okay, thank you. And is there any open source tools available for this, or only these paid things are there?
Most of them are paid that that I am aware of. We have one more thing is called Microsoft Power Automate. If you have Microsoft license, you should be able to access that. Again, you
Okay,
should be
thanks.
able to get 30 days free trial period.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, looks like we are good. So,
Sir, one more question.
okay.
Actually, I'm switching my career from academic profession to teaching profession to IT sector. So I'm choosing testing as a field. What are your suggestions, sir? What should I learn? Actually, some are saying learn API alone without automation.
So
That is it.
if you have interest in automation, I should say you should learn automation, because manual testing is going to be there. It is not going to automation is not going to bypass it. But only one thing is like, as of now, or companies are looking for more automation testers than manual testers. If you know
Yes.
manual plus automation, then there is a huge advantage for that, rather than
Yes.
having
Yes.
manual.
Okay, sir. Actually, I see in posting, vacancy, all vacancies for automation testing only.
Yeah.
Yes. There is less vacancy for manual. For manual also, they are asking 3 to 4 years of experience.
It's better. I mean, it's not a Herculean task to learn automation.
Okay.
If you just know the basics, then you should be able. And if you are willing to do that, if you can practice it, then you can achieve heights.
Okay. A JavaScript or Java need to learn any programming language.
So I should say you can get started with the OOPS concept, and you can start from JavaScript. I mean, if you know Java, then it would be easier for you to learn JavaScript or C#.
Okay.
Because some companies follow C# automation, some companies Java, and some other JavaScript. But the only thing is like, if you know the basics, then you should be able to switch any of this.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, I think there are no more questions now. So thank you, Sreeraj, for that wonderful session. Crystal clear. So I would like to express a big thank you from Prathidhwani Technical Forum. Thanks for spending time and effort.
Thank you.
Okay, so one more reminder for filling the feedback. So it will not take more than 30 seconds. Just go through it and then please provide the feedback. So we can wind up this call. We will meet at another session, maybe like usage of Postman. We had a lot of questions. We can plan for a Postman session or something like that on testing side. So we will meet again later. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.